Tony Bingo Gomachas, so the Kawa Savanalola, Kawasula, Heba, Chalastua. Kawasun, the Tang, you mochi with the hammer when you are. The moon goes in Kawa. Any party color down on the Dobakawa. Any Tamadi, you move a pine with ginger cover. This is our current best Mr. Ra.
So the
Tagua. Sorry.
Colog Mijala.
They will a Kawasun of Dobachare at
Kawasun
Kawasun Habachale, the Snake Kawasun the Casana, New Momachi, and not the Chia Hamachera, Pico, Calicabures. Chi Dugalea, Deepa Doya, Apana, Calicabures. Any deep Papa in a giant to mutin Papa de la Calicabures. That didn't see the Tirana Shahura, or the Kawasun of charity.
Then, moving on with the text, the train in the three difficulties, and the three difficulties are not being able to recognize the source of suffering as these negative afflictions, and then Tangbudin Nyumunzi Machewara. Then the difficulty in identifying or recognizing the afflictions as the source of suffering, and then Nibadi. Then the second difficulty is the difficulty in abandoning these negative afflictions. So then the third difficulty is the difficulty in abandoning these negative afflictions completely from their root. Kawasan Habachas, G so Nasun Ra Langla, the Tanda G so on the Casana and the Jetavishir Laja, Chibishir, Tubishir, Sambishir, Shiro Lajas Ra. How current business is Tanda Juito Namsum Langla. Langla, the Shirusundra, the Chibishir, and Tubishir, and Sambishir. Chetabishir Laja. Then moving on, acquire the three main provisions, and herein the three main provisions are kind of aspects of the wisdom. And then the first one is this provision of wisdom to be born in us, Chivishirap Tini. Then the provision of this to hear the wisdom, to hear the teachings. And then the third provision is the provision of perseverance or dedicated effort or joyful effort. Tadiola ani nyamba meba naso gomla sta nyamba meba karlana ani strong tapong wala nyamba ngato strong tapen chige ngato chimba eta ngato thawara na chimbe gi tapong ro mishimba ta kalom je tu luma go pong wala nyamba ta duzu ko go yesre na khash khande di nyamba sonde de che tapong wala nyamba ani rodu chungwe gi ta sulang ra ti sulang sa di an di ba pong wala nyamba ani kembo so ta ban ta de khuzula shara phiyo mare. So then the next line, cultivate the tree that must not decline, it kind of pertains to the monastic vows, so I do not really think it applies to lay people. But then just to kind of roughly go over it, the first one is not to wear the clothes that a lay person would wear for a monastic, and then not to give up the vows that you have taken in the monastic vows that you have taken. And the third one is more of a vow that you take from a root guru. So this I do not really think apply to lay people. No, demi sundu demba chala is doa. Tin demi and dewa me basundu karasana gosung aran so lu nga ye sum yara. Tin dewa me balali gewata mendawa
Matewa, the Candidilla was Naka Matewa, and Demacha rest.
So then keep the three from which you must not separate. Now here, the three refers to the three doors, which is the mind, body, and speech. And then you should not let these three doors separated from virtue or virtuous actions.
Tini Yula Shoshin, a car show me that John Leda, she's a Yula Shuri Susugi and the chapa the dull down and Chishuri Mabuchi Chidera, Ni show the co shows at the day, Shuri and Pajan Pameba Searcher, Shuri Pangler.
So then apply the training impartially to all. So herein, as we discussed before, we should be impartial in our practice of the trainings. We should abandon this partiality, this favoritism that we have towards our friends, dear ones, and family. So then we should not differentiate between such when we are practicing these instructions.
Tadi wala la chata ting da chata chabla de wala chata sa chama jacham bola chaba chira ting la di ting sabu da tindel tadi ka chang wala de chata yi pa shang pa meba soya la khudra ta kan jing zo chi shoshen da chi chada ting mo bo jorwa de zo pa sho 타다 님에봐 또 곧더만에 빵고 봐 도도 딜라고라 근데 쳐봐이네 그 띵데 짜와네 빵올라 쳐 간지 참마 미버서 그랬어.
So then herein it is vital that it be deep and all pervasive. Herein it refers to your practice. Now why should your practice be deep and all pervasive? Because suffering and the negative emotions themselves are all pervasive. So herein, this is the reason why your practice should be deep and pervasive.
Ni koa nangla tata ani gomla da koa la de chidangi goju le de ngaz simjen de le ya pije tan de tado da de pa ju de da lang bu de cha la ro kun pe gangi thi ju ya ra de zo la an de zo thong de ngala ngaz ta de pe khona za le hi je gong bu ra.
Then meditate constantly on those who've been set apart. Now I don't know if this is a good translation, but in the Tibetan root text, it has this meaning herein that we should always have compassion for these animals who always are coerced and they do not have a will of their own when they are domesticated. They live through coercion and a submission of their will. So meditate and cultivate a sense of compassion always to these kind of beings.
Ta jeje ta la me de ba le jin de se go de le ko dura ji je shin ba ji la ten nga zo gi udi ti su chola ta wa yin ani so zo nga zo gom ja da ti chi tu ma ra che sa jeje ta la me de par thari zo nyam so lan la di ga la thari chra gi ani me zi thari nga zo mi gi ja shi ne ra ti ti su ji se da ni ji gi tam hen da de de le ji bu ji lo go ko ma de ba ra ni thari so zo gi ta me zi gi den jo nga zo ji lu ne ji ta di gi chö nyam so ya ko chen la ba la.
So then, moving on, don't be dependent on external conditions. This time, practice what's most important. Herein, then, like our dharmic practice should not depend on the fulfillment of some external conditions, like some comfort, some food, or such thing. We should not focus on these type of external conditions to be fulfilled before we practice the Dharma. Always focus on this life that you have right now, and the opportunity and freedom it affords you to practice the Dharma. So then herein, when it says don't misunderstand, this is too vast a topic to cover, because there can be a lot of misunderstandings. Yes.
What that means? Don't misunderstand?
Tene koa malu la ro. Di thenda zo do chikainas.
Koa malu le de. Ta kolo majala shibani ani koa lu du ngazo chi ta den dona di se te do sha ni. Ra koa lu du le de do ani shen da sam sha sha ra. Ye koa lu du le de la lobo tu di kare sna ani chö di bi du nge la muze par wa se. Dando wata nye chongwa la subi se kya chiba la zuba che sa di kar la na zo gi koa lopata ko doba dirwa ti karalana ani koa ludu la da di kanro la wasna cheche la ani zoba chetumar katu kale chetumar yana chik diba ro da chik dada tendela chik khare jaya na zoba chetuwa ti yani ko leka doba resra.
So then I don't think it will hurt to kind of go into detail what these misunderstandings are. So generally they are kind of differentiated into 6 types of misunderstandings. The first is this misplaced patience. Herein, when in our worldly activities, we have all the patience and all the resolve to face the challenges we face when, say, you need to earn some money, and then you have all the patience you need. But to practice the Dharma, you do not have the patience. This is a misplaced patience.
This is tanda di zubakolo chera tan dambakolo de karalana chunanda dubala son demba meche para sendi penjol tang son demba cheba cheta dambakolo la den deba dang rewa jora ti chu ya bu chela chera ye ti betun chigi mares ti mai be ji penjol da de la ni betu shin ti deba mambo shin ti dambakolo resra.
Then the second is misplaced intention. Now the same application. We do not really have this intention or this interest in engage in a true Dharma practice, but we have all the intention to accrue some worldly possession or some wealth and possession.
Ti cheta ronyo kolo la ne sumba chita ra ronyo kolo de karesana ani thesa gomson chi is ani che ronyo pena ga che ya po che wa ne su la dewa ro ti bu choya jora ti nyoa jora ti ma nyoa che jine ji dewa ra chi thala cham party ro chi chi tindele pe ne shinja chine ani che namda ji chi bi dewa de nyoma tu tinde de ani nyoa ronyo kolo res.
So then the third one is a misplaced enjoyment or misplaced relishment. Now this means that you take great joy in all worldly activities, right? But you do not really have the same joy when you want to practice the Dharma. So this is a misplaced sense of enjoyment or a misplaced relish.
Niji kolo la ngaz nandi lagi wa ani diba cheba la ni je meje para miji diba ro che ndal ni je ma che che ani che chi di gala ani ka kale khawdo cha ina ro ta ni je ko pe kale che chi di pe kale yesala ni ji shamba mi che chi di ni je ro cha che diba ro ni je ni je ma che zula che ora diba chen pe sa ta ko yo ju ma yo du sa de ni je ora ni je kolo.
So then the fourth one is a misplaced compassion, wherein for those who really deserve our compassion, we do not have compassion. But for those who are already on the path of who are already engaged in the dharmic practice, we then have a sense of compassion. Wherein, if you think about it carefully, we should have more compassion for those who are doing wrong, who are influenced by ignorance and these negative afflictions, but we have a sense of more compassion for those who face some sort of hardship and they are already engaged in the dharmic practice. So this is a misplaced compassion.
Chula majo tende middle chula subala tende mako chene tsendi penjo las penjo chiwi thola so jo ra ani chi tsendi penjo chimbo tende kenda tende la ta chi thoshi tende wa ni chira la bisare.
Then the third one is a misplaced pursuit, wherein all this in this life we do not have a sense that we want to pursue the practice of Dharma, but we have a great sense that we need to pursue the worldly pleasures and worldly wealth and possessions. This is a misplaced sense of pursuit that we have.
Ta jisi yirao kolo la yedira tu bachasa ti khasana khondeji se dewa ta se gewa ta la mugom kwa da ani kwa la debala da ndegi dewala mugom che ani dala se dunge chuna gawago adadala dunge ro cho o da pe ako chosala ndegi gawago ndela khasana jisi yirao kolo.
So then the sixth one is a misplaced joy. Herein then we we rejoice when like our enemies or someone we do not like suffer, then we have a sense of rejoicement. This is wrong, wherein like we actually need to have a sense of rejoicement in the dharmic activities, the virtuous actions, and the happiness, the little happiness that we see in samsara, and then the joys that we experience in the pursuit of liberation of nirvana. These are the objects of our joy, wherein like we, in contrast to that, we misplace this joy in the fact that our rivals suffer or our enemies suffer. So this is a misplaced sense of joy.
Tapi tentang itu discussion di serah, cuma tu ni thua doa topa doa yo ini, ni cuma tu pa topa di tiara masa sado ni apa benda, ni thua doa ini
Yes. So with this, I think we have somehow covered the most important aspects of the text, and the rest of the text, I think they are quite self-explanatory. So I won't. We will conclude our discussion on the text here, and then I would encourage, before our time is up, for you to ask any questions and doubts that you have that you want to share.
Ni kalau tang tu ni mana isu juga, kami kata pada cina jangan orang cina tu kata pada cina lera, ani susu itu lah cing, loya inare, ani nanti tu masih juga cina tu kata pada ni, ani tu itu aja saya lah. Dia ani susu cipu main, sebenarnya tham cik ini saya lah, sebenarnya tham cik ani coach yo share tu ni, macam faham itu pergi cina.
So as this concludes our discussion on the text and our study of the text, and then you have, I think you have all like really put in a great effort and you showed great dedication in asking questions and like studying the text. And from my side, I gave it my best effort to explain what I know. And now, as we conclude this teaching, then I find it very important, and I ask you that you dedicate like any merit that we gain and any good karma that we gain from this exchange. We should remember to dedicate such to the benefit of other sentient beings.
Tetapi ngazu dia ni makasih jadi tinjau ada shoot sama ada shake kabur itu, ngazu pen demi doa jera apa nacera. Tapi cina ngazu kita kerja sih cik tez kuara tez kacauan ada demi tu reselan jera. Ini tez ngazu kalau kita macam tu susah dengan ani cina ngazu kita dah merloya de pergi cuma resra.
So even though like with this short period of time, it is impossible to cover all the nuances and the hidden meanings that exist in the text. But I think like with this discussion that we had about the text, I think it will serve as a key for you in future, and it has built you a solid foundation to approach other texts. Now, when you will read other texts, I think it would serve as a key wherein like you will understand what is being talked about in the text later on.
Tadi ni sudah ani cara susu lehak je salah padu gurora, susu sobai nare, susu nami nare, susu kari ni tu dulu gala. Ni maksudnya nung cawe nare, thado cawe nare, sudah kari cawe. Tidak tes nyuan ciso tu itu pergi cemera. Kita tu cuma sama pang, tapi pang matu na nyur tay. Tapi matu na awal di ngarai ceh dan dim susu lah. Notu tak tu macam je apa apa resra. Di inji minji cewar. Ani tende cini kali macam ya miar caro cera.
So then, as we part our ways from this place, and then all of you will go back to your respective places and your own countries, then I would encourage you to kind of apply these practices, and then with this realization that with this kind of acceptance that in the past, if I have engaged in any transgressions or engaged in any non-virtuous actions, then from now on I would not or try to engage in them. Or then, like, if you cannot completely abandon or completely stop yourself from engaging in such activities, then at least try to lessen your engagement in these activities. And then, if you are not able to do this also, then it's also all right to come with an acceptance that actually you committed a mistake. This will be enough too.
Kita ni lah ngaji doa itu le habar itu ne cuma itu pekal kau tu lah. Le itu cara saya pe ni ada tu kali kau kira ani keju ini namun per pe apa jus nusra ani tu le jani tu cil lagi yes ani kan se kar kau itu tu korang ini jual lah tu ani cara saya ora. Le itu ani ngarai mula korang lagi tu cil lagi sih yes.
So Of the two texts that we studied here, I'm sure like you found the first one a little bit more accessible, wherein the second one, even I find it a little bit hard to explain because it is so condensed, and I'm sure you had the same experience. But I would like to thank the translator for giving his best in trying to explain and trying to articulate these points that are being made here. Since like the kind of like it kind of depends on the translation for you to actually understand what I'm talking about.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I just wanted to introduce.
Now, if you have any questions, they are welcome. Questions? Anything you want to share?
Yeah.
Yes.
In the sixth verse, praying first with the strongest destructive emotions. Is that, are those emotions different between individuals, or does Buddhism have a hierarchy? I'm guessing anger is at the top.
다 당고들라 아니 묘몽 작래라 때네 당고 녀몽 작셔들라 아니 종아쳐 버려라고라 된다 주버드나 니나라 아니 녀몽 바라다 작과 니티스 냠바 된데 지기라 된데도 고림도 지요르베스 모이 삼줄라 단다가 도바도 지나 컨트롤해 줘라 디니 녀몽 작셔도 지기여서레스 나치나
지단 이 배신나로라 된데도 zubatta kattu me la digala control the switch and control the zuba goyana pe kale cover la nyabote cheta cheta control the kale cover ra dan deja the cheta neje the door da ngale ne khatu pe sin jangbo roje khatu shira hawo man control lamsa chik mil chik tetsu ne menda shi haren chik na podo thabo ina ga ha ko da ra ine chik color chapa da zu neje door de sin jangbo ro ina ga zu lamsa ngosu me pe kale cover da zanza de da jawa da chapa da sam.
So then it depends on how these destructive emotions manifest. Wherein when we talk about anger, then like it manifests very prominently and we kind of see it immediately with our own eyes. When we talk about attachment, then like it manifests in a very gentle manner. We suffer the result only in the future, right? So this is why the text advises us to focus on the most destructive emotions first, which is of course anger, as you correctly guessed. And we also talked about how the scriptures talk about that there is no practice harder than the practice of tolerance, and there is no stronger destructive emotion than that of the anger. So this is, I think you have a correct understanding of the way the text approaches these destructive emotions.
Yes. Just in the fifth, when they say is all teachings share a single purpose. This is Theravada and Mahayana, like you said. Well, the two witnesses is talking still about Theravada and Mahayana. I think the question rely upon the principle one. Which one is the principle one? The abandon, the self-grasping attitude.
We are on the fifth, right?
The first one.
This year, not huge. Wait a second. The fifth one, the Ngaba Jigda, the Tsawa Dinala. Ngaba Tsawa Dinala Sina, the Lojung Gitse Lajura. Dinala, any Labatamjig, any 20 Relara. Dinyamdo, any Panguni Lagida. Panguni, any Zola Ten Lagida. Dikhan Lagires.
Panguni, Demba Zuma, Kachi, Injuchi,
any
Chimber in the relay, the Zuma in the relay.
Pambuni di Karina.
Pambuni could Demba in the Invitaros, in the Mavitala, Telora.
I'll think in Demba de la Zinglara.
Chitangi Pambuni led the theatre to rat and Pambuni Coratelisha.
The two witnesses are the two.
Yeah, I just So herein the first one it refers to the two teachings.
Denzel hakosana ani demba imba hakone dele jesin juba zumba imba hakone tis jil mando ngene jil le ba ina tambo pambo ni kare kan denzel ya ta demba imba ya imba hakone dele suji lecha de ne ti jesin ga ta di no de ya me wa da hakone ti jesin manjuba.
So then the first one, all teachings share a single purpose. Herein it talks about the teachings. There is the Theravada and Mahayana teachings. But out of the two witnesses, we are not talking about the teachings themselves. We're talking about this witness of truth and witness of lie or falsity. And out of this two, for something to be falsely established, then there is a witness, right? For something to be truly established, there is a witness. These are the two witnesses. And upon these two, rely on the first one.
세상은 저 리니지비 싫어를 내가 가르모 가르쳐 와이느라 디체나 칼도 저 가르도 연대 가르도 드니 뜻안 아닌 죽으라.
So it kind of refers to how we should approach wisdom. This talks about wisdom. Then wisdom is kind of defined in like being as this ability to differentiate between what is right and what is wrong. Yes.
There is a difference with. There is also a spiritual arrogance. Is another question.
Yes. Tene church에게 양 아제로지에 용시기로 알았어. Yes, this is possible.
제가 다이는 쉬이라. 변나 저라도 뼈로지 샤워 오 다리가 투산들라 돼요. 또 취들이 쉬 이망아이 탭디디 자이디 자인는 쇼지 시에는 가질래로라. 소소 잠바데 잠바라 소소는 좋았던 거마도 님밀이 지치지는 쇼지 디시에는 가지 차로잉 가라.
So this we kind of discussed before too. Now like to kind of stress it again, like we are engaged in this discussion of the Dharma now, in this teaching. So you receive the teaching, then the core takeaway point from this teaching is to inculcate these practices on yourself, not to announce to the world that you have received the teaching, right? So this will serve, if you kind of talk about like receiving a teaching all the time, then it will serve to like foster some sort of spiritual arrogance in you. So a spiritual path in the end always starts from you, like you want to transform yourself.
지치네 고네티스라 그러게 단다 장사주지더라. 냠네 하고 치니야 들 몰라블란디 거다. 네 나치치 나지 천적 치미야도 데요. 데게 나치 치네 디고 말합니다. 강하게 단다 간시 샤주디 미션 발바로 바체. 대신에 디고라.
So then of course we need to make a genuine exchange of spiritual teaching, and then just like an arrogant way of saying like, I've received a teaching. So if you really want to, if someone is genuinely interested in these teachings and then you have received these teachings, so you can share your experience genuinely, but then without like anyone wanting to hear it, then like you want to have like a bloated sense of ego, and then you want to say like, I have received the teaching, this is wrong, this is spiritual arrogance. Questions?
I have a question about in number 7. So could you say a bit more about two tasks, number 2, or one at the beginning and one at the end, whichever of the two occurs, be patient?
Now this is different. The first two tasks we refer to offering. We talk about the 7th branch practice. So this is the start. And now at the beginning you should like do prostrations of and make offerings, right? And at the end, always, now this is the important part, always make dedication that all these activities, ritual activities or any activities, you dedicate it to the sentient beings. This is what it means. Now the other one, whichever of the two occurs, be patient. I think we discuss like material possession, right? If you are like if you reach a point in life wherein you have a lot of money, then be patient at that time too. And if you do not have any money at one point in life, be patient too, because both of these experiences are illusory. Impermanent too. Yes. The link up to Jasha in the so I was just telling her that I took the liberty.
You talked about chant mantra as a powerful antidote to purify and restraining. Can you do you have an example from this one?
당각 전화 아니 님부터 토기를 해라네. 다기 신은 지시한 거라. 네 응앙데 네 배에 났어.
karnyebuto tule
taking on the chi shira tama dinga gi shenguda nga ga lai
tanga to ha karo pene zunga de thaya pena to khadenge ma na sai kala chita ite zula tiba da ichi da ya tie go hor da tama da ta ji awunji ji de do so samta tamashin de seta phege na ha chida de shenle chumburo wa ine ya ani ga zo khazan de na sai kasala ani kundu ina re la ma shaba de drome ge zunga sa sumuda ponta de che di mai be ga zo chida ichi sa sha to bu de ni de guru ro chi zunga de ya ba za ge pe mas de na ya 아니 남들만 저 직소서 지금 나와서 가르치면 드럼에서 하는 된다고 그러라. 그래서 때에 소소하게 대바 다나 여바체 아니 그런 자마야 아프신 대바 있는데 오늘 핑.
So then now when we talk about mantra it is inexplicably linked with tantra. So right? So herein when we talk about mantra then it is very important that we have established a strong sense of faith in the mantra and in whose mantra we are chanting. So to give you an example, like during the time of the pandemic, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, he advised us to chant the mantra of Tara to kind of subdue the suffering that we experience during the pandemic. And then as a general example, in Tibetan Buddhism, when we face like great hardships and great suffering, then we also kind of chant the mantra of Guru Padma Sambhava.
Sorry, I don't know how to write it.
Padma, P-A-D-M-A. Just say Guru Rinpoche. You know how to, Rinpoche, you know, right?
You want to write
So these are the types of mantras that we chant. But it involves a strong sense of faith. So without that faith, then it's just like a parrot, you know, just like a parrot, like, you know, imitating something. So without that faith, then I don't think mantra is effective. Do you know the mantra of Tara?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Om Tare Tutare Ture Swa. Om Tare Tutare Ture Swa.
Since we are discussing Tara, what is the difference between white Tara and green Tara?
That drama karjang para la cheba chieres.
This how me that's China kita duma ni sita chi ra, kora sage duma su yang so chi ni pare re yor ra. Ta duma ngaso duma mede til sana ta me din yor. Ina ngadi sisi da ga sira how me.
So then this will entail a very detailed discussion. Let's just know that generally there are 21 manifestations of the Tara, and all of this embody like different qualities of the Tara.
China korantole di duma ma de de chile chetu mele chetu korasan de bolo yor ra.
So then when we actually say the long prayer of a Tara, then all these different qualities of each Tara are kind of described, wherein like some Tara, some manifestation of Tara has the quality to protect you from like from the danger of fire. Some have the quality of protecting you from the danger of flood or water, and so on and so forth.
Question hold. Yeah.
In seventh point, gain freedom through experimental analysis. You can just emphasize on that, how to go about it.
Tama dela ci tsawa dela ci sinanda di tsawa dinala ani khare tharba la di ani cheba tha di do cheba da chi june ni thopgire la chi da
Di tsawa
tama dela sinanda tisyo ko wa
sanchilo no
tajini ki tharwa cha la chi da
ha
tajini ki tharwa cha mare di tsiga tamani badela di shubu thambo diga tamagi niba gandela
산초나도 뭐 메나
딱쟁이기 타로 차래 딱쟁이 지 타로 차래
도저요 어디 도저니 알레 딜라 똑바 집발라 내가 저기 똑바다 집발라라 똑줄래 지당이 난 저기 지라다 딱지체로 직제라 지당이 똑발로 내가 시발라 지고 지 똑발로 지당 잠잠 남도도 되네라고 집발라 되게 들 신주체 봐 도주니지 있어 아니 타로샤라데 세상아 저기 들 아니 단 담부들 다봐 수수도 당한 저기 지칼로 똑바다 아니 제바시라 데니라 파라 지칼조치 아니 파타르신 바찰라이스라 타로찰레 딜바 칼로 아게투와 지나 아주 단다 가르치는 아주 이대 가는 아주 콜을 코데다 똑바도 주베오 콜을 코데라 라 딜바 타도 치고래라
So then when we talk about discernment and analysis then herein if we kind of think about it generally it is from a wrong discernment and a wrong analysis that we keep taking rebirth in samsara. It's not that we are without discernment. We have a wrong discernment, right? And then we have a wrong analysis. This is why we keep taking rebirth in samsara. And then herein, when we say discernment, then like in the now here it's translated as discernment. Now in the actual root text, it says tok. Now this has a lot of connotation, and it means cognition, it means perception, and then it means a lot of bunch of different things. And now herein, like we need to know that for first we need to have a valid cognition, right? A valid perception that is not clouded, that is not illusory, right? And then when we have such a cognition, then even that valid cognition is not taken at face value. We need to use our intelligence to still like further analyze this valid cognition. So in this method, with this valid cognition and then further analysis of this valid cognition, then we are able to achieve liberation.
So two clarifications. One is don't be so loyal to the cause.
Where is it?
Commitments of mind, 1.6. So why does it say don't be so loyal to the cause?
Don't be loyal to the cause.
And the second was in the end it says 5 prevalent signs of degeneration. The last paragraph. So what are these 5 prevalent signs of degeneration? Old age or something?
타마 들랑한조
이만가 보도 이만가들에
닝망아치레스
이만가디 칼나 아니 체이 히마치라 지랑 같은 이만가 뒤래자 체이 히마 아니 유모이 히마 선쟁이 히마 뒤진 히마 아니 따웨 히마 뒤다 칼리칼라와 체이 히마 유모 히마
디스코 라기 니 주르샤나 코 야가 있어라. So then to answer the second question first, you asked about 5 degenerations. Now the 5 degenerations are the degeneration of life or lifespan, and then the degeneration of ignorance, and degeneration of and then the degeneration of sentient beings, then degeneration of time itself, and the degeneration of the view herein refers to the Dharma, I think. Now, what was the first question? Something about loyalty.
Then what does this last paragraph mean? It's not really. It's
What?
cryptic. The last paragraph.
Last paragraph, what it means?
Instructions.
Awakening the 5 elements on. 다 닝망가 라이디기 고와 가르를 하게 그랬을래. 타마 들어간죠. 돔로지 자도. 가와 그런가.
지당이 희망가 뒤라디 가서 엔데로실래요. 다 지 개와도야라 카레나 This is this Kali Kaburistra. That is not this Jimmy Tenji Mambo Sanji Mambo, she can't say Chawara, Setundu, Animo Mambo, the Nijin, Himagadu later, to the Nijilera. Today is the Nijin on the Chiche, La Bay, Kogapi, Kali Kaburus, Restra. In a that country to do the Sikor Sindijan, Sanchulan, the Jura child, the Susu, Neda Kandeji, Inea, Chiki Sanchu, Sela Sobala, and Gomiada, Ra, Jingy Karaju, and Sanchulan, the Pajutu. Dash Shanchu Lam the Jura Chalatigala, Sajeda and Saje Komata, the Shanchu Sam Julachegi, Tindegi Langala Pajutu, Kangi Kandeji, Ra, Himanga utility to Tusuya, what's the mare? In a Delegi Kangi, Netaji Iba Inaya, Tanduya Suzu did Karichu in the summer, Shanchu Lamla Drag Langala Pajutu.
So this kind of stresses the point that even though we live in these degenerate times, where like the lifespan of human beings are being shortened, and then ignorance is being like promulgated like in a bigger scale, and then like all this other like degenerate. But even in such a time when the Dharma is very difficult to practice, your resolve should not lessen. Your resolve should strengthen that you want to practice the Dharma and then you want to set on the path of a Bodhisattva. This is what it means.
Yang tanda nga tsuma tache marang kusula tuwa yuwa ina ani menga la da menga duzi nimbu karasa nimbu dili tsawa dili dwe tuwa yuwa na dila wara chisa menga duzi nimbu dili lan tanda korangi tsangsha jude menga la na nga tsu chiklapcha dho tanga wara di karasi na duzi la yada nga tsu pe tsawa chimbu chizo amrit la kashi la yada odi ani nimbu dho menga duzi di pe tanda nga tsu lapsha di pe na kora ani menga di karasi na shiri na tsawa chimbu duzi na shiri yas la wara.
So if you kind of read it whole, then like it kind of stresses the importance and the precious nature of this teaching, because in a degenerate time you're able to access this teaching. So you should treat it like a nectar, like an amrit.
제가 아니 디 가르라월라는 아니 단대위 명한 가르드시 님보디라 다가라 카투지 좀 많이 발라마 좀 나마 고마고마고 다야 타투자 사제는 원래 오라 남마도 사제도 내가 바리시는 마 요네 타마타지다 단다 코라기 짬바고 코고바다 바 주트니 레라 오 딜라 티 가르네 셀리파니 주바 라마 셀리파니 마 주바타 주바 마보 요서바 tinza lama sini ban juba resra ani te modila sanati.
So then this nectar like instruction, it is not something that the author just made up himself. It also comes from a long line of lineage, especially from this teaching, this mind training teaching on the Bodhisattva ideals. They come from this great master called Serlingpa, the one from the Golden Isle.
No, ani di la de khashe da khashe sha khon pheshi lo ra khasha leji chula be ta chesa de lama juba ni ma pare chene le res ine ya tanda ja sha jo la sha jo ro de leji kesi yo wa ine ya ta ra ti ya chuse wala di ya khatsap che ro ra chuse bes ani khorangi da di tebdia chaya de la anyama ma chik lama do da this is chikalo sebu mewa to pa sebu sewa nijla ra chuse be rangi mewa mawi juice ta rangi mewa mawi jila digala sosu ge ta ka shi ba ra sosu sanlo thola pa ba shi ani ma thi la isra ani di kala na do nge ta nge che se ne di gi chikange do da chi tam nya ba ro khare ko entel ta kada di te ti wala inare chi gomdu nya le chi di kala kangi ma ma che dole che ora ra te de gi chama che se ne kale jamne ani danjin dui tangwa shu se chesa de de kale khare se jawo na ngara se danjin ji ro danjin de ma du ma me ba so ma chung tawa ho tin de ani tangwa la di kala labja di res khari ngam labja di na labja khare na wala na zo danjin ma duye gi chi de thamna di na de res de de gi ani tangwa de khare ta shu yu le gi sra shu se tani shia minje dos ta tan nga shina disus na de ba khaime ngara che go tsama che yile.
Now like I think it's kind of self-explanatory, like the conclusion, but I like to kind of like still stress what the author is trying to say here, that like this opportunity that you are afforded to receive the teaching now, it did not like come about just like that. It came about because you already planted a seed in your previous life to hear the teaching. Now this seed is being ripened, and then you are afforded this opportunity to receive the teaching. And then since he himself had received the teaching, then he felt a great interest in the teaching. And now, like, since he already received this teaching, and then he's writing he's writing this text without any fear, or like somebody's gonna somebody's going to criticize me, or somebody's going to disparage me, without any fear, because the teachings that he received also stressed the point of subduing this self-grasping or ego clinging. So now, as he's able to accomplish this task of writing the text, now he has no regret even in the face of death.
And I have a question generally about anger. And we talked a lot about how anger is something that is very, very bad, and how important it is to practice patience and compassion. But I think a lot of people sometimes find it very hard to feel anger, and out of fear won't feel anger, practice patience, practice compassion, and by that will stay in very toxic relationships and in very toxic situations, and a lot of time in life we need to be firm, and we need to put boundaries, and we need to be with courage and strong means. And sometimes all these Buddhist messages, it's like making you be stuck in the place. And I know it's not enough to have compassion, and you also need to have wisdom. So I wonder if you have a practical advice how to practice this wisdom, and how to understand in this, how to find the courage in these places, not to be compassionate in the sense that you're stuck in toxic places, and how you get out of them.
Tatanda kongru di ni jomgore ningji da chamba gomgore la ne ni yang sung dos ine ni kongru di shinang sabore de mangbo sung dos ine mi mangbo ji la kongru la la korang khakpo yung dos khashi kongru tyen la kongru la la khakpo yung dos khajana na konzo shinang do ji gi ta su kongru tyen ma tu ne la gi ras ne dang da ne gab do ji la khajana pena cha shana chirang da mishinda ji dewa do ji na yor ta nyam do ni mishinda de la shinang do ji kengi kongru tyen ma tu ma ni di dewa de chibu me na yora ani di saja de la rang la di do rang ja kongru tyen ma tu gi chengi ra ni cheza ni pa da quran zo che nga le san ji che go ma chena ani tem nembo chine su nga yi nga lung sa gi dulen la thu e go ras ani nang thanda nang ba gi ngam zo nang ju gi da do di mang che ro ji ani khala gi re samsam de nyamne chela du zamada bet khongdo gomne de gorla na ani dinde gi ji nedang do ji la ra shinang do ji gi bet de ani phinde kho bet gomne la di ro de chine di mi so so la ram phen thoi mar phale phen thoi mar was cheza ani lagleng su ta la ani nganzo sherap ta thap le ne mang su yu das ta lagleng dinde do ne gap ji la lagleng su ta la ani thap da sherap thap khare na sherap khare na
지난들에 지난지 컨트롤러 저거 고문들 컨트롤이 그때만 그 시대 냐데 들라고 말더라 컨트롤이 나와이나 그냥 늦게 가도 봐 컨트롤 나와이나 밀레 파이를 천시에서 수분이 네바 지지라 아니 가위라 아니 메드 주기라 아그 밀레 지치고르니 저거는 수술에 깨다 두자치도 봐 제 네바체 아니 수술 미스나는 밀레 파지 지시에서 수보다 가르쳐 가지 자요나 수술 집고 용 말이라 아니 수술을 담아도 티 이미 찾아 봐 다치라기 저거 고마이나 컨트롤 마당하시는 저거 고마이나 다기 기계 상황 빵도라 봐 아니 그냥이 이 유모도 좀 페르 마로야 봐 아니 그런 경하시 캐내니는 그냥 저거 고마를 때니 마음을 그냥 깨워야 보내 근데 이게 펜을 마음을 때는 저거 고마이나 그래디 야디 깔래 개요 말아 봐 근데 some 펜을 따오라 봐
So then before now, like first we need to establish that practicing tolerance, it does not mean you should practice it out of fear. This is a big misconception. It does not mean that out of fear that you want to practice tolerance. We say that we need to practice tolerance by first recognizing the negative effects that such an anger would have not only on us but others. And now we know like it would not have a positive effect on us or the others. This is why we need to practice tolerance. This is the reason we encourage tolerance. Ani? Shinda? Tagin nedang dinde dojile yora da suba gomna yora. Ni suba gomna ani mi phajo di da kyangi da nyam de yora. Ani phajo dil shenang do chin suba gomde resra. Ani suba mambo gomde na dinde ra. Ani phigelarang khar digira. Chula ma pe phale ma pe dinde dojile dolen khande chegore lagi.
Khar digira dinde suba ro gomde de til kange choye mara. Khana suba gomdi di pha jo tang thone yaboda. Ra ngi tande suba ro gomde waina. Ti ani su dunya de ma cha cha mara ge suba gomya da mara ge wasa ji chason chengel lam jo len ma bu suda. Dinde do pha je. Ini khara ge chikange do je pha la ma tu de 테네르지 칼로 강에 제는 편도 깨문다. 그라. 근데 결혼지게 디포를 가사에 파야 보진 자 칼로 템보시는 파세기 제 지내야시라.
So herein now like you say that out of fear then you kind of tolerate this anger that arises you in a toxic relationship or in a toxic place, right? Out of fear you kind of out of fear. Right? This then the first misconception is this: like it does not mean that out of fear you need to practice tolerance. And herein, when we say practice tolerance, it means that it does not mean that you should not react to this situation at all. That your reaction to a situation should not be influenced by anger. It does not mean that you are not practicing tolerance. Does not mean that you are not able to, you are not allowed to express yourself or express your concerns. You are allowed to express your concerns, but that expression of concern, expression of that expression should not be defined and influenced by anger. This is what tolerance means.
Ye Kurangi Kuran Morala Pachi Lamatu Ganijura, Tikarin Haumira, Tana Puro Jila Peshavina, Pulo Korala Revajgura, the Jalado Chigo in a ra. The Pamal Lamatu, Pama Yugina, Yugina, the Lawu, Symbol Yad and Cocalido, Ra, the Pugilici iPhone Chiguina, the Copamal Lamatu, Pamina Calacavache, Pama Lana Yuma, kissing on a gadget and the someday, could the Gangido so the learn Matura, that they Gangido Chara. Daddy Kerala di Gola Pamala Casa, Gobi Jinse, and I did the good, and I love the chair, didn't the petal in Lavina, she's not Pama yesterday, can get the mirrors of Silla.
So I do not really know like personally your experience, like your personal experience, but I would try to like address this with an example. Now like take the example of a small child and a parent, and herein like if the child wants something from the parent, then if he has a fear of the parent, then he will not be able to express this. So then the question is,
Komashi did and Latumara.
Latumara.
In a Koragi Palasera, Palaja, and Korala Gobi Jinset by Hina, she's in a Korata and Dusira. So then Maduna Koragi Nasati Sandora, Latara.
So then let's say the kid wants like a phone or something from the parent, but then like he's afraid to tell the parent. And herein like if he just keeps that fear in himself and stop himself from expressing his needs and wishes to the parent, then it doesn't serve any purpose at all in this situation. Now, if the kid is able to like not only express that he wants a phone, but the reason that he wants a phone to the parent, then like whether the parent like actually buys him the phone or not, it doesn't matter. Like that kind of like obsession that he wants a phone is like mitigated in his mind. So this is the way I would like advise you to approach it. That you express it without fear, and then you express it reasonably.
Okay, I think sometimes it's very it's not clear when you need to practice compassion and when you need to be firm. You know what I'm saying? You don't know, you take the responsibility and you don't know how to, you don't have the clarity to know if this is a situation that you need to be compassionate and take it upon you, or this is a time to be firm to someone else. I understand that you need to do things from like a heart of compassion anyway, but the actions sometimes need to be
The young
Good
show
boundaries. And sometimes it's so I'm asking if she has some
practical pointers.
practical practice to this kind of situation, because it's all the time it's very clear. You feel anger, you need to try to use patience. But how do you know when it's not time to use patience? When it's time to act in a direct way that with boundaries.
다 잠다닝지 곰고래 라게라스. 잠다닝지 곰라네 아니 딱과 잠다닝지 곰에 각보러 왔어. 갑질을 내게다 딕손은 스심손은 소소소소 잡으러 제고에 뒤주지 얘기를 왔어. 디바라를 체바체대 앞에 갖고 두스 남주여라. 아니 네스 칸데스 체바체도 제고래. 아니 그런 게 남주 메질라 냠 라글렌 타르투에기 랍자도여스.
저도 이제 고미야라 오라.
잠다닝지 곰고래라 오라. 삼삼이네 셀레게와 있는 다 소소 잡으친 되오라. 어텐들라니 예와치에 갖고 두었어. 아니 준도네 아니 근데 예와치에 체도여라. 랍자도지 카이나스.
지다기 장도 이제 됐어라. 강화도도 검도여라. 장발라나 이제 장도 이제 되는데 배도 걸어가라. 장발라디가 파기라지 칼로다.
다 잠다닝지 소바 라소보다 모이라게.
그 검거데스. 아니 이 칼라 당게 싫은 거 좀서. 좀더 자도 이제 고면다 곰탄을 딱하는 미지 돈주로 치되나. 들어와라. 돈주로 치시시로.
So herein like if someone keeps making the same mistake and keeps inflicting the same harm upon you, then you sometimes it crosses a limit in you. This is the question, right? Oh, tilagita.
고면다 체지어라. 대대대 오늘 체래 소소 체대여라. 담보 저바 곰 간데도다. 아니 계시 이게 가상이만 하는 거라여라. 계시 저바를 곰딱 빠르신 주시되나. 데스콜은 잡고도다. 지민이 파 두바 맞아야지. 결혼할 앤데 뭐 지기도다. 어디에 맞아야 지구를 지적하래. 제에 말을라. 야고진 나와는 시즌에 코라 하마고네야 결혼 앤데로 지리시여라. 근데 어다 미리 파이를 콜라 쳐지내샤. 콜라 네그에서는 시즌에 파 어디야 신자모 차스라. 시즌에 아니야. 코랑이 준세로 콜라 결혼할 앤데 지고에 준세지지라. 라 준세디야. 이 저라들이 지 간단한 결혼 앤데 지기도 하느냐. 서로 지켜를 두는 그런 인재기 버는 지 전샤들만 매버서요. 아니 얘들이 저 소소소 하마고서 이렇게 파지도 하모 균이 버를 지 가리는 지 말이 버지어다 버라. 그래 제고야기 강이 가리는 진짜다. 근데 이제 오늘 저랑 이런 노릇이 파치에 차이 되기파 도바서야 거기 아버지라. 이파 가산 봐 매버서 아마서 얘기죠.
So then I think we kind of discussed about how to approach such a situation before too, but like now, like if you encounter such a situation, then the first reaction should not be one of anger. To try to explain to that person, to ask him to stop it gently. Then if he keeps still doing that, then you should also look at the relation that you have with that person, right? To examine the relation first too. Wherein, if such an instant occurs, it is there is an element of ignorance of the real situation between both of you, wherein he doesn't know what you are feeling, and you do not know why he is doing this. So you need to talk about it, right? And talk about the reason why he's doing this to you. And if there is a certain reason why he keeps doing this to you, then address that reason, and then that also serves to dispel the ignorance in him too, and that also dispels the ignorance in you too. So always try to resolve it gently with reason, and always try to talk. Without talking, there is no way that this ignorance and this conflict will be solved from both parts. Yes.
Okay.
I have another question, maybe a different way to frame this topic is, so somebody may be holding back not because of fear, but because they don't understand the situation. So they're weak or submissive in their understanding of compassion. So they take a lot of pain on themselves thinking that they're being compassionate, but actually they're being unwise. So the question is, practically, how do we cultivate wisdom in our lives so that we kind of know intuitively or reasonably how to draw a boundary?
That the 아니 미카시 다기는 신앙전에 니치기 라라서 다 단다디 삼나타나스라 미카시기 잠닝지 공기 라브라 소소 셈바 춘주 배드 직셈바 람산냐 차차조 된데지케 아니 잠닝지 공기는 시우 소고 침데나 시럽미다에 따라왔어 아니 된데 미치라라다 칸데스 난조다 난조번 된데 용시고라스 라 된데
그렇지 뭐도 인자 스버고미다죠
말에 다 소소 셈바 초스 넘보요 아니 셈바 람산냐 차차조 된데지 제라 단노 잠다 인지 공기 라브라 미신다지기 직 독자 제되나 아니 배 우주 점네 곰데라 된데 차나 아니 콜라치 펜 주요마라
소소 해도요 뭐
소소 배 셈바 데 망아 shum두라 된데 나졸에 용미시와 마라스 지다 미사마라 용시와라스 엔디드 잠바 아니 시럽 레조라 땅 안저기 드루브르라 거라 시럽 드루다네 니 탑시도 가리에너스
지단 이디 소소소소라 만야자야 말았어 nga khole duye nga keko jinjingi me nga shigi me nga tayi me la nga zo gidi na yor dili nga zo ge national lelo le sha ba daniel ni bi lelo le soso nga je ma nga khole duye nga ji ni le soso zo man ya cha ra dili chi ju ma daniel ni bi lelo de che ma.
So first, when we talk about such a person, then in the text, when we talk about laziness as one of the afflictions, then one aspect of laziness is this self-pity that we have, wherein we like kind of put ourselves down, and this is a form of laziness being expressed in yourself, and this is one aspect we need to recognize first. So this is a form of laziness that is explained in the text, the way you kind of put yourself down. So now, due to the constraints of time, we stop the discussion here. Is it okay if we? Okay.